You know, Jensen today morning, I don't know how many of you got to hear him. He said, how hard can it be, as the mantra, right? That resonated with me a little. I'm an entrepreneur. And it turns out the next two speakers, Rishi Bhargava, who's the co-founder of Descope, and Varun Badhwar, the founder and CEO of Endor Labs, are doing something very interesting in security, and they'll talk about how GenAI will shape the future of cybersecurity. So let me invite both of them on stage, please. And as they are coming up, let me tell you a little bit about how hard it can be, the relation. Both of them, turns out, have sold their previous companies to Palo Alto Networks. So for those who are thinking in the same direction, how hard it can be. Come on up, tell us.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Obviously, Rishi and I know each other for a long time. It was nice to have Mira here before us, talking from a Palo Alto Networks perspective. You know, we can relate to it. But Rishi, why don't we just get started with quick introductions? Do you want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah. I think we were texting, it's like, oh, this sounds familiar. They've made this progress, So lots of Palo Alto. Yes, I'm Rishi Bhargava, co-founder of Descope. Prior to this, spent 3 years at Palo Alto Networks, which I got to because sold my previous company, Demisto, to Palo Alto Networks, which was in the security orchestration space, addressing some of the challenges that Mira was talking about. Quick word about Descope. I don't know how many of you guys know today is World Password Day. So it's like, I call it, Houston, we have a password. Not a problem. Descope is a customer identity platform with a mission to eliminate passwords from the world and make the customer journey simple. So that's a little bit about me.
And yeah, so my background, I basically built and created the platform that Mira was talking about before this. That's the easiest way I can describe it. I went into Palo Alto Networks through the acquisition of my last startup company called Redlock. And what I'm building now with Endor Labs is a software supply chain security platform. Mira touched on some of the importance and impact, but essentially the way I would describe it is all of the problems developers have in the development, code, and build process are the problems that we're solving in a very developer-friendly way. So Rishi, I know a lot of talk from Mira was around how AI can help building technologies and automation. Why don't we step back? I think we should touch on what are the attackers using AI for first. And maybe I can start and then you could jump in on that. So a couple of anecdotes I'll share with you on kind of, one, remember, it's equal footing that this technology is being applied by our attackers every single day. I'll give you a couple of anecdotes. One, there was a study recently done by University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign that said 87% of one-day-old CVEs can be completely automated and exploited by ChatGPT-4. So for GPT-4 can now exploit most vulnerabilities that are 1 day old. So we talked about how much time you have to patch and think about the problems. That's a real issue. Second, if machines can do it, where I don't know what these days hourly wages are, 20, 25 bucks an hour, the cost of the machine to build these exploits is $8.80 per exploit that they build. So you've commoditized how easy, cheap, and quick it is now for attackers to exploit a lot of the vulnerabilities and issues that Mira was talking about earlier. But Rishi, maybe I'll let you share some of your experiences.
I think very well said. I think democratized the way to attack, made it cheaper. I think that's definitely one of the challenges posed by AI. The other thing I'm seeing in the world I'm living in the identity, over the last, if I go 10 years, one of the whole identity verification, which is how do you identify a person, was voice, face, video, upload your selfie. That's how we all identified ourselves. That is completely, think about how challenged it is with the AI-generated deepfakes, right? So there's a big problem coming ahead of us, which I see already attacks. I think there was a few spotted attacks where voice-based authentication used by financial institutions were completely bypassed because you can take literally 10-second clip of anybody's voice, which could be here, and post that as a voice-based authentication. In fact, there are some legitimate tools like Descope, which is a good video editing tool, can take a 10-second script and then create a full audio based on text, which could now be used. So that's one vector which is happening in the identity world. But the other side, which is not only attackers, I'm seeing very interesting thing, which is this is the first time, at least, nobody knows what is the output. How did you get to the output, right? We always knew in our computing world, there's the input, this is the algorithm, and you got the output. First time, there's a black box in the middle. Now, what does that mean? That black box is being applied to permissions, authorization. It's like in the old world of software, whether it's Salesforce or some other application, if I click on a button, I was given a permission to see that data. That is, I got that data. If you ask a chatbot, how do you control this permissioning? Because AI went and archived all of that information. So some significant challenges coming our way is what I think. But maybe, I think, let me pivot a little bit, Varun, maybe. What are the positive sides? Like, I think there's two sides on this, right? I mean, pretty much, which is all of these challenges, because which I'm an optimist. I call it my blood group is B positive, so it's in my blood.
We have the same blood group, so maybe there's a coincidence.
But I think the question is, how can we leverage this in today's world? What are you seeing across the industry?
Great question. So let's break it down, right? There's security for AI, and then there's AI for security. So maybe let's look at these two differently. So let's touch on security for AI and what's the opportunity there. I think pretty much every problem that we've solved, if you think about companies that are starting today to solve AI security challenges, they're building a firewall, they're building proxies, they're building data loss prevention capabilities. So I think there's an opportunity to rethink the entire security stack from firewalls, proxies, DLPs in this new world order. The way I simplify this in my brain is there's your business user. So this is typically a user that's on a browser that's asking ChatGPT to kind of write prompts and based on your inputs. That's one set of problems. The other set of problems that at least we are thinking about much more in our day-to-day world, just given Endor Labs' business, is when you start using AI in every application, right? Every company is going to now have models in their application. So now your software developers are using AI. And what does that mean? There's, again, two parts to that, 2A, 2B. One is AI-generated code. So GitHub Copilot, fantastic momentum out there. Citibank just announced they're going to be deploying it across the thing. Our analysis has shown that Copilot writes an intern level code. So where you were probably writing your code, spending 70% of your time writing code, 30% of your time reviewing code, it'll pivot to you'll spend 10 or 15% of the time writing code, but you better be prepared to spend 70, 80% of the time reviewing the code. So again, there's dynamics shifting. So now the whole question is, okay, what do these AI bots write code based on? What did they learn on? Well, they learned on ethos of open source software. How vetted and trusted is that code? So there's a plethora of challenges that you have to think about, but in my mind, an end business user who's on a browser doing stuff, very different from what software developers and application teams are doing in embedding models. And if you think about Hugging Face, now all of your risks around code security apply to Hugging Face, which is becoming the most popular landing zone for open source models. How do I trust these models? What was it trained on? Who created them? So I think the entire security stack will have to be revisited for both the business user and a technology software development user in your enterprise. So I think that's an opportunity for everybody. But maybe I'll say one statement and turn it over to you, which is maybe controversial. I think most companies that are talking about, we have an AI-based product to do X and Y and Z in cybersecurity, I'm sorry, but they're kind of lying. I think a lot of it is rules-driven. And I'd love your take on obviously that as well as the question you asked.
I think, no, it's true, right? I mean, I think as a builder, one thing, there's a lot of advancement that happened in terms of understanding natural language and being able to summarize information, respond in natural language. But deep semantics, security, I think, it's not easy, right? Models to predict whether it's an attack or it's not an attack. I remember it's been almost 15 years since the first SIM or analyzing alerts to come up with anomalies. All models have been tried. There is this whole field of study of adversarial AI, which basically the challenge in the security world is it's not just you're studying the patterns and detecting an anomaly. There is an adversary which is actually trying to beat you and not letting you find the anomalies. I think in the security world, it's especially hard. So with the tool saying AI-based this, I think we are in the early days. Absolutely agree with you. I think, in fact, I'll go a step forward. I think there is a different place to leverage AI if people are thinking of new ideas. For me, I think the human interaction with the security tools has been really poor. There's a lot of manual, cumbersome work which had to be done from security tool management perspective. You go into, like, even take SIMs of the world or SOAR space, which is security orchestration space, building of workflows, building of playbooks. You found an alert, creating a ticket into a Jira or a ServiceNow. Those are very, very simple tasks which could be leveraged, like which could be solved with AI. So there's an opportunity, but I think you got to be cautious to say is where are you going to apply AI, and then what is the cost? Because a false positive or a false negative in the security world can be very, very costly. And I think some of the...
We have to defend 100% of the time. The attackers have to get it right once,
yes.
Right? And I'll share an anecdote to support what you just said. We tested how good AI is at detecting malware. We looked at both Google Bard, we looked at OpenAI's capabilities. It's single-digit precision. 7%, only 7% of the time, AI could accurately detect malware. So again, how do we use it internally? We use it, again, as an intern, another human augmentation. Can you completely take people out of this equation? No. But I 100% agree with you. If people in this room are thinking, I want to start a company in AI for security, not the security for AI. I mean, I think that has its set of opportunities and challenges. But if you're thinking, how do I use AI today to solve certain problems in cybersecurity? I would say 100% people, right? There's a massive skill shortage in cybersecurity. Human tasks, repetitive tasks, gathering data from Splunk and running playbooks. A lot of that I think the technology is there today to start augmenting and replacing.
That is the biggest opportunity I feel too. And I think the second thing, I know we're not going to spend a lot of time on security for AI, but I think I will point out that as you think through building applications in AI, whether it's solving a security problem or building an application for AI for another problem, sales, marketing, operations, the piece that Meera touched upon is like, think security first. And Monica mentioned is like, even as an engineering leader, think security while you're designing. And I think there are some new challenges come in when you use AI for that model. Where do you leave your role-based access control, permissioning? Is like a full gamut, right? Because there was a very simplistic computing model. That computing model is changing. You take a whole bunch of data, you throw it into a black box, and the output comes out. And where do you lose that fidelity on who can access, what can be done, what can be shown, where did it learn from? Is it bringing some information which was not from your data? All kind of security considerations with that.
I think we have 90 seconds left. Any audience questions? Happy to take a question from all of you.
Data seems to be the oil for all purposes AI, right? Whether it's good, bad, whatever it is. So do you think in the future the consumers and enterprises will get very, very gun shy about the data because that is the one which propels everything? And so from a consumer point of view, do you see a very privacy-oriented consumer who's going to be very, very aware of, okay, I want to limit my data spillage all over the place, and similarly from the enterprise aspect as well?
Happy to start. This AI revolution reminds me exactly of what I was dealing with building my last company about 10 years ago with cloud. What was the first thing? Nobody wanted to use the cloud. Everybody wanted to shut down access to the cloud. They didn't want data in the cloud. It's lack of understanding and awareness. I think over time people will recognize. I get contracts from our enterprise customers today that I have to swear that I am not training my models on their data and all of these things. So I think people will get comfortable. They'll have to get over this hump. I think it'll take education, awareness, and just more technical familiarity of what happens with this data. I mean, if you take OpenAI, for example, they tell you now, right? Like they're committed to not training their models on your data if you're an enterprise customer. So I think all of us have to figure out our policies, procedures, and also how do we have this dialogue with our customers? Because yes, there's an element of data moat, but if you're going to hide your data, then what insights can you get if you're going to kind of put this data in a safe deposit box and not allow technologies to help you train and automate your business through that?
Yeah, I think, agree with Varun. The only thing I'll add is there's a side which we didn't even touch upon, which is regulation and law, right? I think, to me, there is already some talk starting. There's a bunch of stuff being discussed in Congress, which is deepfake, creating a deepfake illegal or not illegal, right? And I think some of those will evolve, and that will set the structure of how a consumer or how a business uses the data. There is no law today which says if a business shares the data, can that data be used to train the model anonymously, learn from it, share the data across? So I think it's early days. People are going to be first gun shy, then they're going to get educated, as Varun said, and then some regulations will come around, and then we will know how to leverage it and use it. And this has happened in cloud, this has happened in social media, this has happened in multiple different vectors.
I think that's all we had time for. Thank you very much. Oh.